This is the Nothing But Bucs podcast. Now, here's your host, TJ Rives.
What a win. What a win that sets the table for the stretch run of the finish to the 2023 regular season as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now pulled into a tie for first place in the NFC South by virtue of a dramatic 29-25 victory, a rematch win in Atlanta on Sunday. It moves the record now to 6-7, and the playoffs are now within sight. They're almost within reach for this Buccaneer team just because you've gotten a couple of wins. Welcome in. We're glad that you're with us. However you found us through the Buccaneers mobile app, through Buccaneers.com, wherever you get podcasts. It is Nothing But Bucs. I am the somewhat competent host. We are fresh back from Atlanta on Sunday night after the Baker Mayfield winning touchdown to Cade Otton and the Buccaneer defense playing bend but don't break to hold the Falcons in the closing moments. There for their last second attempt to score a touchdown. Revenge is sweet, thus saith the Buccaneers. Do not apologize for victories. And I know I've already seen some of this on Monday morning as I record this podcast. And as we put all of this together, with the full understanding, I work for the team. They sign my checks. I get all of the fact that I'm compromised, I'm biased, I am not impartial. But by the same token, can we spew some facts here? The Buccaneers are right in the thick of the playoff race. And whatever you want to say about how they've gotten there, they've gotten to 6 wins. And you start looking at the teams that they've beaten, right about now, it is not the upper echelon, the top of the NFL, but you've won a game at Minnesota that right now is in the playoff picture. You've won a game in the second game of the year over the Chicago Bears, who, believe it or not, have now won 5 games after they won Sunday, and they're hanging around in the conversation. You've won a game over the New Orleans Saints that have 6 wins. You now have won a game over the Atlanta Falcons that had 6 wins coming in. You are getting wins over teams that you need to beat, and now you're in the playoff picture. And so I keep seeing all this stuff about, oh, you're ruining your draft pick. I will say this on the front end before we ever get to the highlights that are coming up and the post-game interviews. You are not a true fan of this team. And I'll even use the 2 words, go away. Go away with all the comments, delete your accounts off social media. If you're wanting your team in playoff contention to lose games, to get a better draft pick and maybe fire the coach, go away. You aren't wanted. You aren't needed. Get out. I will hold the door for all of you. I'm coming strong at the beginning of the podcast because if you are a true fan, a devoted fan, you're savoring every win at the end of the year that could get you into the playoffs. You're enjoying it. You're not going, but we can have a better draft pick, but I don't know that Todd Bowles should really be the coach, but I don't know that Baker shut up. Go away. Go away. Third time, all of you collectively, go away. That's the mood that I'm in on a Monday, because the rest of us are going to enjoy the showdown in Green Bay and then come home for 2 massive games, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve with the Jaguars and the Saints respectively. And all 3 of these games have playoff implications. And if you're going to but draft pick, top 10 draft, but you're ruining your draft, go away. The rest of us will enjoy what the NFL is all about. The NFL is all about trying to make the playoffs and win games. And do I believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a legitimate, realistic Super Bowl contending team? No. I have to confess that to you. And it's rather obvious that they are not. Do I believe that the Buccaneers have every opportunity to make the playoffs right now, somehow, some way, including a wild card spot that could be within grasp? If you beat Green Bay, you certainly have a wild card argument going into the final 3 weeks, much less a division argument, a home game. Do I believe the Buccaneers are realistically a team that could get into the playoffs and win a game or 2? Absolutely. And by the way, having done this for the past 30 years in this market, locally, regionally, and nationally, I know an awful lot more about this than most of you sitting at home who watch on TV, listen to podcasts, and post on social media. In the number of coaches, players that I have dealt with across the board, not just in Tampa Bay, the understanding of the games over the past 30 years of covering them, the 19th year I've been on the sideline, I might know a thing or two about whether or not this team, if they get into a playoff scenario, could win a game or maybe win a couple of games. I am here telling you, off the win in Atlanta, this team, if they get in the playoffs, can win a game. Can win a game, certainly at home, even against Dallas or against Philadelphia in a rematch. You could win that game. It's a week-to-week league in the NFL. And don't give me this stuff about the Cowboys being so invincible. Great win for them on Sunday night. Same Dallas team that went to Arizona and lost to a 2-10 Arizona team at that time without Kyler Murray. Same Cowboy team. So, we'll wait and see how it all plays out. But is this Buccaneer team capable of being able to win a playoff game and do some damage? Sure they are. Take my word for it as somebody that understands this stuff, has covered this stuff, and has worked in it. They absolutely could, but you've still got work to do to get there. We're ready to talk all about it. So let's get things underway here with the conversation about the Falcon game in Atlanta on a dreary December Sunday. Luckily, we were indoors, climate controlled. It was a late arriving crowd, but it did fill up inside of Mercedes Benz Stadium, and it was loud for a lot of this game. And credit your Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again for handling a loud dome on the road, just like they did in Minnesota in week 1, just like they did early in the year in New Orleans in the Superdome. They even handled it in Houston for the most part, scoring points, putting 37 points on the board, scoring late. You handled the loud crowd in Houston. You just couldn't stop the Texans at the end of that game. Well, you got the key stops in Atlanta here. So this bodes well for down the road of, what would happen in a loud environment at Lambeau? Or what would happen in a loud environment in a playoff game if you have a road playoff game? Let's say you are a wild card team. I like the chances of what this team can do, in part because of what I've seen, including seeing Sunday, about them being able to make the plays when they have to be made, especially on the offensive side of the ball when it's hard to hear, etc. All right, so again, to set the table, you're going to hear highlights from Mean Gene Deckerhoff and Dave Moore, and my coverage from the sideline on Buccaneers Radio, 98 Rock, our flagship station. You're going to hear interviews coming up after this one was done. But look, we all knew what was on the line, because if Atlanta were to win this game yesterday, Atlanta would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. And they would be 2 full games in front, and really 2.5 games in front of the Buccaneers with 4 to play. Massive implications for the NFC South yesterday in terms of you don't want to be 2.5 behind with 4 to go. Now you've pulled dead even here, and through the tiebreakers, you actually have the lead, which, again, as all of this will sort next week and Christmas weekend, Christmas Eve, and coming off of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day on Monday, when it sorts the next 2 weeks, if the Bucs have won, if both of those games, it will basically come out, they control their own destiny, no other help. They're not going to need any other help at that point. It basically sorts that way, I think, right now, but you're still going to have games played next weekend and the following weekend. And then you get into the scenario, what if you drop one of those games? What does it do for the tiebreakers, et cetera? But you had to have this one in the division. And again, Atlanta had beaten you on a last-second field goal in Tampa in October. So this was a revenge situation. The Bucs knew what was on the line here. You've got veteran players all over the place. Mike Evans, who's been here, Lavonte David, who's been here, Shaq Barrett, Chris Godwin, Tristan Wirfs, and Antoine Winfield Jr. at this point are veterans. They're Super Bowl champions. They've been in playoff games. They're both collectively now right in the thick of all of this for the Bucs and for what they can do for this team in their 4th season. You've got veterans and Baker Mayfield is a veteran as well on this football team. You've got a Vita Vea the same way when healthy. You've got players all over this roster that have been there, done that, and they understood what was on the line. They understood revenge. They understood get after the Atlanta Falcons and Desmond Ridder. And let's get into it. Let's get into the highlights of this one as the Buccaneers began to make some plays, including early on in the game here. Opening drive, Falcons won the toss. They deferred to the second half. The Bucs able to pick up a couple of first downs, including this toss here to Chris Godwin.
Baker Mayfield shows shotgun look, takes a belt-high snap, and looks to his left, throws the ball over across. Caught ball by Godwin. He has a first down, I believe. And with that catch, his 500th career catch in his 100th career game. And right away, Godwin is a target for Baker Mayfield.
So much made and said about Godwin and about his exploits, and this week about getting him the ball enough or touchdowns. Don't ever question this guy's toughness. Don't ever question his ability to get open in the clutch and make big-time plays, which you're going to hear a little bit later on. His 500th career catch. Only Mike Evans has caught more balls as a Buccaneer than Chris Godwin. That's remarkable. Yes, it's more of a pass-happy league now the last 10 years, the last 15 years, than when the likes of a Jimmy Giles or a Kevin House or even a Mark Carrier played for this team. When you start talking about 500 receptions, tremendous for him early on. So the Buccaneer drive would stall out, and this has been one of the unsung weapons for the Bucs to just get inside the opponent 40-yard line and set it up for Chase McLaughlin, the kicker, who once again gets the Buccaneers on the board first here. A money distance field goal.
55-yard field goal attempt by Chase McLaughlin. He's got the leg for it. McLaughlin puts a toe into it, gets a long ride. It is going to be long enough, and it is good! Chase McLaughlin continues to do his thing. Another 50-yard plus field goal for the brand new Buccaneer.
So you take 5.5 minutes off the clock. It's a 55-yard kick officially, as Gene was calling it there. And for McLaughlin now, he has the second most field goals of 50 yards or longer in a single season. Connor Barth, 2012, had 6 kicks of 50 yards or more. I would have thought that our buddy Martin Gramatica had 6 50-yard kicks or more in a single Buccaneer season. Not the case. So Connor Barth has a record. McLaughlin now with 4 games to break it, although Barth's record's a 16-game record. It's a 17-game season now. But still, that gives you points early on. It gives you the lead. And really kind of sets the tone for how this game was going to play out, kind of tit for tat, back and forth. Atlanta then takes their first drive. They're able to move the ball down the field, and they get a field goal themselves on a 16-play drive that eats almost the rest of the first quarter. 8 minutes off the clock in that instance to retie the game at 3-3 on a Younghoe Koo field goal. He's been an outstanding kicker until yesterday when he made a couple of mistakes, and it would all be big and it would all add up. So the game 3-3 at this stage. We move into the second period. As I mentioned, a very quick first quarter where the Bucs basically got the ball back with only a minute or 2 left in the second. Couldn't do much, or in the first, going to the second quarter. Had to punt the ball away. So now the Falcons are pinned in their own area, and they've been talking about this in Atlanta for 2 years. Desmond Ridder and mistakes, and here you go with the Buccaneer defense coming up big.
Bijan Robinson shifts in motion. He looks to the right, pass made by Robinson. It's nice, picked up. It's intercepted. It is Carlton Davis with a pick 6. Wow, what an ambush at the 10-yard line.
Pass was intercepted, and the player was down at the 8-yard line. First down for Tampa.
I thought that play could have been a touchdown. I understand that Davis was touched, but he didn't possess the ball yet. He was still trying to corral the interception and even bobbled it on the way down. I think they could have given him the benefit of the doubt that he was down on the ground untouched while bobbling the ball, and if he can get up and run in, it's a touchdown. It would have been a pick 6. Would have been nice for the resume to keep the game ball, and even for the incentives, etc., to get a pick 6 touchdown. And again, I misspoke. This was right at the end of the first quarter. So the first quarter ends, you change ends of the field, and the Buccaneers finally take advantage in the red zone right here at the start of the second quarter.
It's second and goal from the 2-yard line. Shotgun look, hand the ball off. Rachaad White follows the blockers. He's into the end zone. Touchdown. Mayfield gets the touchdown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right up the gut.
So Baker Mayfield hammering it in with the rushing touchdown on the read option. Excellent second and third effort for him. And give credit here again. The Buccaneers now in front 10-3, capitalizing on the turnover. You needed that takeaway. You got that takeaway. Now, Atlanta obviously can make plays, and for them, Drake London began to establish himself, had a couple of big catches in the first half, catches one down the field to set Atlanta up down 10-3, and that eventually here as we return to our highlights on 98 Rock and the Buccaneer stations and the Buccaneer mobile app. This would be an equalizer for Atlanta. We knew they had big play capability, including the former Florida Gator who would haul it in here.
Two receivers right, high snap, play action fake, dropping back to the Ritter, throws the ball deep downfield toward the end. Wide open receiver, touchdown. Atlanta Falcons, Kyle Pitts. The former Florida Gator was wide open. Did a defensive back slip and fall? Nobody near him at the 5 when he made the catch, and they're a point away from tying the game. 36-yard touchdown catch by Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts able to come up with that touchdown catch, and it goes for 36 yards. Confusion in the back end. We have seen this from the Buccaneer defense, where Antoine Winfield is covering near the line of scrimmage in zone. It looked like it should have been Carlton Davis's man to go to the outside. He got confused. He jumped to the inside with Ryan Neal on a receiver down the middle. And so Pitts is wide open in the right corner to catch the touchdown and retie the game at 10. All right, so we talked about field goals and how they would be important and everything would add up. Again, Younghoe Koo made the game winner from 50 yards out in Tampa. However, he began to have issues here, including lining up after their next drive, trying to give the Falcons the lead.
The spot far side hash at the 40-yard line, 50-yard attempt. He's missed only one this year. That was 47 yards. It was wide to the left. Here's the snap. The spot is down. The kick is airborne. And Younghoe Koo hits the upright. Just his second miss of the season.
Good.
And the game remains tied at 10-10.
A doink off the right upright, and it maintains a 10-10 game at that stage. The Buccaneers then get the ball back, can't get much going on offense, but punt and pin the Falcons in. And here would come a key moment in our highlights late in the first half, where once again the Buccaneer defense looking for a play, and guess who's made the plays most of this season for the Buccaneers defense? You got it. Antoine Winfield Jr. And here it was again, late first half in Atlanta Sunday.
Bijan Robinson is the setback. Out of the shot, feed the ball, dropping back to the old Ritter. He's going to be sacked. He fumbles the ball. It's in the end zone. The Bucs are going to score a safety. Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a front four, and Antoine Winfield makes the hit, force the fumble, and the Bucs are 2 points ahead of the Falcons.
Wild play with the sack fumble. Again, heads up for the Falcon fullback to pick the ball up because the Buccaneers had a couple of guys that could have maybe gotten on it for a touchdown. Patrick O'Connor gets credit officially for the safety for tackling the Falcon player in the end zone. Winfield gets credit for the sack fumble caused, and the Bucs get 2 points. Second straight week, by the way, that the Falcons had a safety. Bijan Robinson got tackled in the end zone against the Jets last week in their narrow win. So here the safety. Bucs could have maybe had 7, but you'll take the 2-point lead at 12-10. And now it's a free kick and a great job by Bradley Pinion, a former Buccaneer punter and kickoff specialist, because he blasted the free kick almost some 80 yards in the air. He backed Devin Tompkins down to the 5 or the 4-yard line on the free kick. Tompkins was able to get it back out to around the 30, but instead of having really good field position near midfield, the Buccaneers were kind of back in their own end. They end up having a punt again. This is where the offense began to stagnate. You couldn't run the ball very well. Baker Mayfield couldn't convert third down a couple of times throwing it. So you punt it away, and once again, Younghoe Koo misses a field goal on the last play of the first half, wide to the left. Those 2 missed kicks, again, will loom large later in the game. Again, you don't know how differently the second half plays out if the Falcons have 6 more points at halftime. But clearly they left points on the table in the first half of this game. So again, I talked to Todd Bowles live on Buccaneers Radio going to the locker room. I said, what needs to continue on defense? He said, we've done a good job of locking them up, especially on third down. Keep the pass rush up. They had gotten a couple of sacks in the first half. Winfield with a great play. Offensively, they would have to begin to convert third downs. And finally, you would do that in the second half. The Bucs finally go on a 66-yard drive here. They're able to work the ball a couple of times. Mike Evans caught a big third down to get you into scoring range. You're able to convert on a third and short and get the first down. And finally, we saw this previously on the catch and run against Tennessee from Rachaad White. Here again, get him in space and look at what number 1 can do if you have him out in space with a little bit of wiggle room and a head start.
Good snap. Mayfield dropping. Pass the ball caught by Rachaad White. Little screen pass. White inside the 20 to the 15 to the 10. Touchdown Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rachaad White on 3rd down and 9.
Love the calls of Mean Gene Deckerhoff on Bucs Radio and 98 Rock. Rachaad White's second receiving touchdown of the year. Again, a screen catch and go 31-yarder. Puts the Buccaneers now up by 2 scores, 19-10 here. Gives you a little distance, gives you a little breathing room. Again, to the Falcons' credit, they drafted Bijan Robinson out of Texas as the running back. He's able to get free for a long run early on in the 4th quarter of 33 yards. Robinson would eventually hammer it in from 3 yards out to give the Falcons a touchdown back. So that makes the game 19-17. And the Buccaneers would have to answer, and they did answer with a solid drive, 10 plays, 55 yards after this in the 4th quarter in a back-and-forth game. You move down into scoring range again. A couple of those plays, a 10-yard catch for Rachaad White on 2nd and 4 gave you a first down. You're able to get another first down on a Rachaad White run. You then try for the deep shot to Mike Evans, and that's where Evans could not quite get the feet down in the right corner of the end zone on the 3rd and 4 play. I like the call. Baker just did not pull the trigger quickly enough when Evans still had some room on the right side of the end zone. He was trying to let Evans clear the last defender, waited the extra half second to a second to pull that trigger. In the NFL, a half second is everything on when it's thrown and where. It's a tremendous effort by Mike to get the left foot down. He's trying to toe tap the right foot, but almost simultaneously his hand, as he's bracing himself, is out of bounds just before the toe tap. Still, as we said on the program, it's worth the challenge by Todd Bowles because that's a potential touchdown. And they're not going to review it if you don't challenge. And it looked like on the first replay it is a touchdown, but then the subsequent 2nd and 3rd replay, his hand is out of bounds. So it's the right call by Alex Kemp and the officiating crew in that instance. We'll get to the officiating crew here coming up in a second about blowing another call. So you take that off the board, but this would be big here. The Buccaneers would go ahead and get 3 more points. All the points add up. Chase McLaughlin bangs through a 38-yard field goal. So now you are back in front by 5, meaning the Falcons would need to come up with a play going the other way. And that would lead to this, where Desmond Ridder is able to complete a long one here in this instance.
Jonnu Smith in motion. They're dropping back to throw Ridder. Ridder throws deep downfield. You got to receive in the area. It is caught ball at the 30-yard line by Drake London. What a remarkable catch with 2 defenders on him.
That's a 45-yard catch. And again, Antoine Winfield in the area, but didn't come up right away to try to high point the ball. And London out-jumped him to be able to grab the ball. So it's a big play there. And it actually was not on this drive. It was the previous Atlanta drive in the 4th quarter. An awful call, an absolutely awful call on 3rd down by Alex Kemp's officiating crew as Zion McCollum, the Buccaneer defensive back. And look, I know I work for the team and I'm slanted, but Stevie Wonder and Mr. Magoo could have seen Zion McCollum never touch the Falcon receiver, breaking the ball up in what would have been 4th and long and a punt. I know the Buccaneers sideline erupted, Todd Bowles erupted, the cornerback coach Kevin Ross, who played at a very high level in the NFL for a lot of years, he went crazy. Zion had a tremendous game tackling, defending passes. He made a great play on that play. And we know, and I said this on Buccaneers Radio, there's scrutiny right now of the officiating crew of Brad Allen. And the officials, so that you understand, they are graded and analyzed every week by the league. And if it's now leaking out that there's a crew under big-time scrutiny for missing key pass interference calls, that's because they're threatening to discipline that crew and or maybe get rid of an official off of that crew. It has come to that before in season. When the errors are so egregious, you've got to step in and have accountability. I'm saying to you on the Nothing But Bucs podcast, that blown call of pass interference when McCollum didn't even really touch the receiver until the ball is there, it is an awful, I'll say it a second time, awful pass interference call. And the Bucs should turn that in, and the official that called it should be held accountable, just like players that drop passes, miss blocks, and commit actual penalties, should be penalized, reprimanded, disciplined, benched, cut. We should have the same thing with the officials here in this instance. Did that call cost the Buccaneers a game? Ultimately, no. Was it a big momentum situation for the Falcons that they blew that call and they were going to have to punt? The officials blew the call against the Bucs? Yes, it's absolutely big. But in any event, this is the next series in the 22-17 game where we resume. Back to the highlights here. The Falcons move into the red zone, and ultimately Desmond Ridder shows what he can do with his feet.
Shotgun look with a blocking fullback on the right hip. They'll feed the ball to Al. No, keeping the ball is Ridder, running to his left, chased by Tryon Shoyinka. He's down the sideline. He scores a Falcon touchdown. Shoyinka had him and couldn't bring him down.
Great effort by the Falcon quarterback, so give him credit. I'm going to name the name, though. Joe Tryon Shoyinka is out there one-on-one with the quarterback, and he not only doesn't cut the angle off, he doesn't even get him out of bounds in that instance. You've got to make that play. You have got to make that play. But it did not happen. And so Ridder gets in the end zone. The Falcons get the 2-point play. And right now they are looking good as they have now retaken the lead with the 2-point play and pushed it to where a field goal would only tie at 25-22. But this is where the Bucs come back into play here, including a 4th down conversion in this instance. Game on the line, basically, right here near midfield. Bucs need a field goal to tie, a touchdown to win. They get the 4th down.
4th down 1. Picks the leg. Now looks over to his right. Back to the left. Sends Cade Otton in motion. Takes the snap. Hands the ball off, and Rachaad White struggles ahead, and I think he got the first down. He did. Wow, you send a tight end in motion, and he blocks and gets you the first down. 3 yards when we needed 1. Crucial 4th down conversion.
So White got enough of the yardage. I know the ball was coming out. They showed that on the replays, but here's the other part of that. Falcon fans were booing everywhere. Rachaad White clearly recovered the fumble for the first down as the ball was coming out. He's sitting on the ground with possession of the ball. He's got the ball back. So it's irrelevant that he fumbled because he recovered the fumble. You get the first down, you get the conversion, and now you move into scoring range. Did we mention Chris Godwin early on Nothing But Bucs here in this podcast? How many times has this guy done this in clutch situations throughout his Buccaneer career?
Dropping to throw, Mayfield looks, throws the ball downfield. Caught ball, Godwin inside the 25, to the 20, to the 15-yard line. Great grab by Godwin, and the Bucs are in business inside the Falcon 15.
32-yard catch for Godwin sets the Buccaneers up with a minute to go, down around the 15-yard line. Credit where it is due, because once again, Godwin gets open. Mayfield puts the right touch on the ball. And Baker's going to be, you're going to hear his comments here after the game. Baker's going to be honest after watching this game. There were numerous throws. He had a throw to Mike Evans earlier on that drive right in front of me, near sideline, left of the Buccaneer bench, where Evans is cutting on the deep out to the sideline. He is open, and the ball, even in one of the biggest catch radiuses in the NFL, couldn't get to the ball because the ball's poorly thrown, too hard and too far to the sideline. Baker missed some throws. He's throwing balls in the dirt to wide open guys. He doesn't lead Cade Otton on a key 3rd down wide enough to the sideline. But my point is this. When the game was on the line, that was a money pass to Godwin, and it sets this up on 2nd and goal from the 11. Here is what turns out to be the game winner, Buccaneer fans.
40 seconds left. It's 2nd down and 6 from the 11-yard line. Good snap. Mayfield looking. Throws the ball left. There's a caught ball, touchdown. Tampa Bay. Cade Otton makes it over the shoulder catch, and the Bucs retake the lead.
Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. 11-yard touchdown, 2nd game-winning clutch touchdown catch of Cade Otton's career, as he caught one to beat the LA Rams from you-know-who, Tom Brady, in the final seconds a year ago at Raymond James Stadium. Now he catches this one with 31 seconds remaining. You'll hear from both of those guys coming up here on the podcast about that touchdown. Mayfield throwing it, Otton catching it. Hear from them in their own words in a little bit. So the all-important extra point is good because now the Falcons can't tie the game with a field goal. Now you're back up by 4. They have to have a touchdown. That would lead to their final effort. 2 timeouts left. The Bucs playing bend but don't break. Atlanta used the middle of the field twice. They threw deep middle to Drake London and called a timeout, their 3rd and final timeout. They then fired down the middle again to Kyle Pitts with the clock running, as Chris Berman always has said on the NFL primetime highlights, tick, 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 tick. The play was actually triggered at the 16-second mark. They were able to clock it at the 5-second mark. By the way, previous to that, on the shotgun pass attempt from Ritter to Kyle Pitts, I don't know that the clock started on time on that play either. There might have been another second or two that should have come off, and there should have been fewer than 16 seconds remaining before that play we just heard. Might have been a clock error by a second or two where the clock didn't start on time, or maybe stopped a second early on a play that was in progress, deep left. It's very difficult for a quarterback to take a 5 or 7 step drop and throw the ball deep left down the sideline and the play only take 4 seconds. From 20 seconds to 16 seconds. I'm just saying. Go back and watch the video. All of you have technology. You can go back and see it on the tape of the game or the game tape of the game. But in any event, the clock stops, so now there's one play remaining. Falcons have to have a touchdown from the Buccaneer 31. Here's the way Mean Gene called it.
Here's the high snap. Ritter dropping, looking toward the end, passes toward the end zone. It is caught ball at the 4-yard line. And the clock will reach 0-0. The game is over. The Buccaneers have beaten the Atlanta Falcons.
And as we like to say on this podcast, sometimes you need the help or the stupidity of others. Why did Atlanta not throw the ball in the end zone? It's the final play of the game. It's going to take 4 seconds. You might as well throw the ball to someone in the end zone. So the Buccaneers have 5 or 6 guys milling around the goal line, and when the pass is going to Drake London on the 8-yard line, right around the 8-yard line, that is a gift. Thank you. Thank you to Arthur Smith. Thank you to Desmond Ritter for the decision. Thank you for Drake London not running to the goal line. Run down to the goal line and try to make that play. Not run down to the 8-yard line. We'll take it. We'll take it. And the Buccaneers hang on for the win, a well-deserved win. They outplayed the Falcons when it mattered. They made more plays than the Falcons, including the clutch touchdown and the clutch stop at the end. 29-25 is our final at Mercedes Benz Stadium, and revenge for the Buccaneers, pulling them to within a tie now, and by the tiebreakers in the lead in the NFC South at 6-9 with Atlanta and New Orleans. All right, so let's go inside the Buccaneer winning locker room. It was loud, the music playing, etc. You're going to hear from the two heroes at the end, Baker Mayfield and Cade Otton, here on our Hooters postgame show coverage. This is what you get on Nothing But Bucs. Not just the highlights, the postgame interviews, my insight and analysis. You're going to enjoy a lot of fun interviews right here as we went through the postgame show Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. Let's go back to the conversation with the QB and the tight end about winning the games. My goodness, let's go to the end. 11-yard touchdown pass to Cade Otton that turns out to be the game winner. Tell me about that play.
Good man coverage right there. Cade's got press coverage as well on it. And just, it's a progression read. We know that they had been playing a lot of man all day. So to be honest with you, those safeties were tuned in to wherever Mike and Chris were. So I knew we were going to have a good matchup with Cade. And he won off the line and did the rest. Obviously, they threw the flag, but didn't need it.
Chris caught a 32-yarder right before that. From what you remember, that's an enormous play to give you a shot inside the red zone.
Yep. Another man coverage play that Chris knows how to run that route extremely well. Good dives inside, wins on leverage, and just gives him over the top and just presents a big target for me to just throw it up for him, and he made the rest.
Well, what a performance here by this team overall. You could say that maybe this was a game that you could have won a couple of other times this year and didn't win. Why did this team win it today?
We stuck with it. We stuck with the run game in the second half. That really made the difference. And then on that 2-minute drive, we had enough time to be able to run the ball as well. So the biggest difference is the big boys up front, and our defense played a hell of a game.
And now, it's not overstating this. You have set yourself up for the opportunity here to control your own destiny down the stretch of the season, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. If we take care of our business, good things will happen. So one game at a time mentality, and this is the most important one, and we'll enjoy this, and we'll move on to the next.
Congratulations. Thank you. Again, we will keep it right here as the Buccaneers have won this one by the final score of 29-25. You hear the music playing like we're in the club here, and rightfully so with the Buccaneer win. Cade Otton stands here immediately after it's done. You caught the game winner. Baker Mayfield just said to us that he was looking for you in man coverage. Describe what you did.
Yeah, they played a lot of man against us tonight, and I saw just the DB eyeing me up, so I wanted to stem inside a little bit and give him a little step and then release outside, and Baker just put a perfect ball out there.
What are you thinking, if anything, as it's coming down to you? Do you even remember?
I was just super proud of the way we had fought up to that point, and, we just had to find a way to win. We did it differently all game. We've done it differently every week. And at the end of the day, it's just putting together ways to win. And so super proud of our guys and the way we finished, the way we kept believing. And I had all the confidence in the world that we were going to get it done.
Especially when you got in the plus territory. A field goal would have meant overtime potentially, but a 7-pointer can really obviously win the football game. What, if anything, was being said about you need 7 here?
Yeah, just at the beginning of the drive, we talked about in the huddle, like we had the mentality that we're going to go score a touchdown and win this thing. And so just credit to our whole offense, our whole team for, making it come to fruition, just focusing on every single play and getting it done.
Is it a little sweeter here to come to Atlanta and get this game and know now that you basically control your own destiny to make the playoffs?
Yeah, for sure. But we're just going to keep taking it week by week. We knew this one was a big one. We've been talking about that playoff mentality, and, we're going to keep treating it like that. Just win and we're in.
A 29-25 victory. Cade Otton again hauling in that touchdown. Clutch. Absolutely tremendous touch on that ball from Baker Mayfield. And even though there was defensive holding on the play, as Mayfield mentioned, it didn't matter. Put it in his hands. Great image. You feel great for that guy. There were a lot of Buccaneer fans in that end zone, in that area, and he was holding the ball up to them. It was right in front of me. I was right down on about the 10 or the 8-yard line. The ball came rainbowing over me. And the first thing you're thinking is, okay, this is like Houston. You've left them some time. You've left them 31 seconds with the 2 timeouts, but still, you've got to have that touchdown. And the Bucs got it right there. All right, so let's continue on the conversations. Rachaad White, a 100-yard game. Another screen catch and run touchdown. You're going to hear from him, and you're going to hear from head coach Todd Bowles as well from our Hooters postgame show. Let's go to those conversations now. Congratulations on the victory. Tell me about the victory.
Just hard fought. Just goes testament of our team and obviously God and just us rallying together, man. It was a great win for sure. Hard.
Huge play in the second half is the screen to you, which I believe was a 3rd down play. You get free. Tell me what opened up for you and what you saw on that.
Coaches called a great play. They was in man. We knew it. We called it out. Coach, OC, Coach Dave, and Coach Thad Lewis, our quarterback coach, on the sideline was saying they was, trying to figure out what to go with. They called the play, and it was a screen, and my lineman got out, and next thing you know, all I just see, like I said, a wall. And after that, it's just, after I see that wall, I just know I got a great chance to go ahead and hit my head on goal.
Are your eyeballs big at that point when you see that open up and you've got blockers like Stinney and Hainsey down the field with you?
Yes, for sure. Real big. But I just know they was going, like I said, the wall. So I just knew they was going to wash everything off, and then I had to just go straight to wherever I choose to go and be a playmaker in that moment.
The final drive is going to be scrutinized so much. A field goal would have tied. It means overtime. A touchdown obviously would win if you're in the final seconds with it. What was the mentality? What's being said in the huddle about trying to go get 7?
We're just trying to score. Coach and Bake did a good job of having, poise and keeping all the guys calm. And, we was in some same situation, 3rd and deep and things like that. And Bake and our receivers, they did a great job of coming up big. And then we had short yardage and, and Coach called certain runs and things like that, which was great. And, to keep them off balance.
I asked Baker this. A couple of games maybe slipped away that you could have won. Today, you found a way to win this one. What does that say for this team late in the year when you have to have it, that you pull it out on the road like you did?
Obviously, it's just confidence, man. We knew we had it in us all year, but we would make little mistakes to not, win the close, tough games. We'd had a lot of them. So, yeah, just to pull it off and, this magnitude in this moment of the season, and we know how important everything is, it says a lot for this team.
100-yard rushing day, first place in the NFC South. All that sound good to you?
Yeah, sound great.
Love it. Thank you, Rachaad. As the Buccaneers have gotten the win, 29-25. Baker Mayfield's winning touchdown pass to Cade Otton from 11 yards out to give the Bucs the victory here this afternoon in Mercedes Benz Stadium. We still await the opportunity to talk with head coach Todd Bowles, who is still meeting with the media here at the moment. Again, A couple of other numbers here on the day. Baker Mayfield with the touchdown drive finishes 14 of 29, 144 yards, and the 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin, 6 catches, 53 yards, none bigger than the 32-yard reception that he makes late in the game to set things up down at the 15-yard line. Again, Rachaad White, 102 yards rushing, 33 yards receiving, so a combined 135-yard rushing day. And we hope to talk with Antoine Winfield coming up in a little bit. Antoine Winfield with a sack fumble in the end zone that eventually resulted in a safety. They tackled the Falcon in the end zone. He had a couple of other big plays down the field, breaking up passes as well as one of the leaders on this defense. And you got to start considering Antoine Winfield not only for Defensive Player of the Week honors like he was last week, but potentially Defensive Player of the Year consideration when you start looking at sacks and forced fumbles and interceptions and all of those different things. I am told that the head coach is now available to chat all about this as the Buccaneers have won. Thank you, young lady. The Buccaneers have won 29-25 dramatically, and head coach Todd Bowles is with us live here on Buccaneers Radio. What a victory. Just overall, your thoughts immediately after it's over.
Great team win. Defense came up with points when they needed it. Offense had a heck of a drive at the end of the ball game. Hard-fought game, great team win, tough opponent.
Let's go to that final drive. You knew at worst, if you could get in range, it's a field goal for overtime. As I was just talking with Baker and with Rachaad White and Cade Otton, you still had a mentality that a touchdown can potentially end this, can win it right here in regulation. What does it say for this team to go get 7 points on the road in a hostile environment when you had to have it?
We knew we couldn't come down here and keep kicking field goals. Once we got in field goal range, we had a shot to score the winning touchdown, and we ended up scoring that touchdown. The attack mode, but the calmness in which the offense had was outstanding.
The winning play is to Cade Otton. Tell me what you saw as he got free and hauled it in.
Well, he ran a 7 route. Baker had a great touch on the ball. Cade catches very well in traffic, as he does in practice all week, and he made the play he's been making all year in practice.
I do not get tired of asking you about Antoine Winfield. We go all the way back to the first half. He's got a sack fumble in the end zone that results in a safety. Eventually, he had a couple of other pass breakups in the game. Can you say enough about number 31?
Can't say enough about him. The plays he makes is unbelievable. You know, the routine play he should have had where London got the ball, he waited on it for the very first time, and, you know, he would have had another pick in there. But he's one of our bell cows. He's one of our leaders. Obviously, he's one of our captains, and he plays very well for us.
Okay, the Falcons had the ball, obviously, with 30 seconds left and a couple of timeouts. What, if anything, are you saying to that defense as they take the field? Obviously, they had to have a touchdown, unlike the previous matchup where they only needed a field goal. Here, they had to have 6 points. What about the defense, the mentality to finally get the one last stop?
Well, they got some yards there, and we knew that. We were just trying to protect the sidelines and make them use those 2 timeouts and keep the clock running, and we did that, and they came up short at the end just like we planned it.
All right, you have some injuries now, a couple different ones. Neal ends up going out of the Ryan Neal, goes out of the game earlier in the first half. William Golston left the game in the fourth quarter, as did Carlton Davis. Do we have any updates on the seriousness of those guys?
Not at this time, no.
All right, nothing new on them. You're going to obviously have a great opportunity here down the stretch because of this victory with 4 games remaining. What does this do for the confidence level of this team to come get this game and now know you're in a tie in the NFC South?
We're hungry. You know, it's a round-robin tournament. We figure if we can win the division and win the rest of our games, we can get in. And the guys are very focused. We know it's December football. We know we got to win, and they've been focused on that all week, and they've embraced the challenge.
Great job all the way around for the Buccaneers to get the stop at the end, get the touchdown when they had to have it. You got in the red zone over and over again and got touchdowns in this game, so that was important as well. As the Bucs go on to get the victory here in this one. A couple of other notes. We talked to Rachaad White there. He ends up with 135 yards from scrimmage. And so he's now gone over 100 yards from scrimmage in 3 straight games. That is his second 100-yard game of the season. You should have been able to run the ball on the Falcons. They were banged up on the defensive line. They lost one of their defensive linemen during the game. They already had 2 other ones out. Grady Jarrett's out for the year with a torn ACL, the big defensive tackle who caused so much problems in the first game. David Onyemanyata, free agent acquisition for them, was also injured during the week and couldn't play. You should have been able to run the ball on this Atlanta team, and the Bucs did run the ball on them. So Rachaad White going into the play in Sunday Night Football now trails only Christian McCaffrey and Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars in terms of yards from scrimmage this season. He is definitely a playmaker. Great to hear from him after the game. And you heard from the happy head coach as well. And let us not forget, Lavonte David was back in this game. We did not have an audio highlight here, but Lavonte broke up a couple of passes, a couple of stops in the run game. Great to have number 54, leader, perennial Pro Bowler, top tackler for this team. Here was Lavonte after the sweet win, the revenge win over the Falcons. Down inside the locker room on our live Hooters postgame show, Lavonte is here at his locker and able to talk here for a second. Congratulations on the victory. How and why did this team pull it out, sir?
Just sticking together all 4 quarters, man. You know, not getting too high, not getting too low. Understanding that the game ain't over until it's over. You know, offense and defense, you know, did a great job. Especially did a great job of just playing off each other. And we made the plays, you know, we needed, especially offense came through big for us. So definitely hat off to them.
You were back out there after being gone for a couple of games. How hungry were you to get out there and make some plays? And we did see you all over the field.
It was fun, man. It was fun. You know, I love the game of football. I love being out there with my teammates and competing and stuff like that. So definitely was fun to get out there and get out there with the guys. You know, after missing 2 weeks, just had to try to get a feel for it again, you know, being out there. But I kind of caught up right at the right time.
What, if anything, was being final drive with trying to stop Atlanta when you knew they needed a touchdown?
Yeah, just being disciplined. You know they needed a touchdown, keep them balanced at all. You know, keep funnel everything inside of it so they can tackle them in bounds and keep the clock going. So we did a great job executing at the end.
Victory, the most important thing. 29-24. Always love talking with Lavonte David. KJ Britt also solid as well in this game in the middle. You got sacks. We played the Winfield highlight with a sack. Elijah Cansey got credit for a sack, tripping up Desmond Ridder. You were able to make enough plays. Yes, the Falcons got some yards. The Falcons got some touchdowns, but you made enough plays defensively. You got the stop at the end of the Houston game that you did not get. You got this against Atlanta, and it bodes well. You also got the stop last week against the awful Carolina team. Positive reinforcement. You have some momentum now as you get ready to go play the Green Bay Packers. And again, all of those interviews courtesy of our Hooters postgame show, 98 Rock, Buccaneers Radio, Buccaneers mobile app. As you hang with us here, we're here after each and every Buccaneer game. And now this sets up the opportunity to go play the Green Bay Packers. And folks, it is a little early. It's probably a week early to start looking at wild card scenarios. But suffice to say this, Green Bay is playing the New York Giants as we release this podcast on Monday night. We don't know the result. The Packers currently have 6 wins. If the Giants somehow upset them, then you're right now in a head-to-head matchup with Green Bay where you both have 6 wins and you've got a chance to beat them and have the tiebreaker. Again, the Vikings won that god-awful game with the Raiders on Sunday to get their victory, which is their 6th victory. I believe that is correct. I'll double-check that here in a second. But you're looking at tiebreaker possibilities for a wild card spot because keep in mind right now, 6 wins has you in range for the possible wild card right now in the NFC playoff picture. Yes, with Minnesota's win, they have 7. But if the Buccaneers can pull tied with the Vikings, they have the head-to-head tiebreaker is my point. So right now in the NFC wildcard picture, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, by virtue of their loss to Dallas last night, in the 5 spot as the wildcard team. Minnesota at the moment, 7 wins, would have the 6th spot. And right now, a slew of teams with 6 wins. Green Bay playing tonight with 6 wins, but the Buccaneers 6 wins, the Falcons 6 wins, the Saints 6 wins, the Seahawks 6 wins, the Rams 6 wins. Somebody's got to get the final wild card spot out of all of those teams with 6 wins, especially if Green Bay loses. Everybody goes into week 15 next week with 6 victories with a wild card spot still hanging out there. And so that will become more prevalent, especially if you can beat the Packers. All right, so we will have that game for you next week. Again, we don't know the Green Bay result, but it could be a head-to-head matchup where the Bucs look for 3 road wins in a row if they can get it. Coming up here Sunday at Lambeau Field, as the Packers have obviously been good. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs recently at Lambeau, but they've also had a couple of slips earlier this year at Lambeau as well, including the Detroit Lions beating them earlier this year at Lambeau Field. We'll see what happens in this matchup here with Green Bay coming on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing what the Bucs can do. Can they make it a 3-game win streak? And again, folks, you've got 4 games remaining. Get your tickets while you can right now for the Jaguars Christmas Eve game and the Saints New Year's Eve game, because playoff implications galore right there. Especially if and when you get this Green Bay win, you are now in complete control of your destiny for the final 3 games. No other help's going to be needed, and you need Buccaneer fans to be loud, proud, be there early for both of those matchups as the Bucs continue this odyssey of having to play 4 road games in 5 weeks at San Francisco, Indianapolis, Atlanta, and Green Bay, with the Carolina win sandwiched around. You want the crowd to be the crowd was great at the end of the Carolina game. You want the crowd to be bonkers, and you've got a puncher's chance to really win all of those games. There's not a San Francisco here. You've played the Buffalo Bills already this season. You've played the Eagles. That's the upper echelon, and the Eagles are taking their lumps right now. San Francisco and Dallas have handled them in each of the last 2 games. It's a long season. It's a week-to-week league. I will conclude this podcast saying again, this team has a puncher's chance in the playoffs to win a playoff game and do damage. I am telling you from field level with insight of having watched this team every step of the way. They are as talented as just about anybody else in the NFC. You can argue that San Francisco has more, maybe Philadelphia has more, but Hurts doesn't look 100%, and Philly's defense at times looks vulnerable right now. San Francisco and Dallas both carved up Philly's defense. It would take a great effort to beat the Eagles. But, I mean, you're talking about if you get the opportunity in the playoffs to play Philadelphia at home, that you wouldn't have a puncher's chance or get a Cowboy rematch in a wild card playoff game if you've won the NFC South. Let's see what it looks like for the Bucs and for a potential playoff matchup. The only way that happens, though, if you win games. And you're now headed to Lambeau Field. We'll be on the air at noon against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, who again play Monday night. You will know that result. Obviously, Monday night unfolds and into Tuesday. I don't know that result right now. Did they beat the Giants for a 7th win, or will they be dead even with the Buccaneers, both at 6-7 for the matchup at Lambeau, the old NFC Central rivals? Buccaneers and Packers. And the early look at the forecast is no snow, it doesn't look like, and not horrifically cold. It will probably be around freezing at kickoff, something like 34 degrees. It's looking like 34, 35 degrees around the freezing mark, but that's not 10 degrees or 4 degrees in Denver or in Green Bay in December. So we'll be on the air at noon on Buccaneers Radio, 98 Rock and the affiliates. And again, kick time 1 o'clock for the Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers. We look forward to seeing what's going to happen. You've had some good memories in Green Bay before, including the NFC Championship win, which a lot of these players were a part of, with Tom Brady leading this team against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Let's see what happens for this matchup coming up. Packers obviously got a win over the Buccaneers in Tampa last year with Aaron Rodgers. It's now Jordan Love at the controls. And let's see how it plays out for this game coming up. My thanks to Jason Behringer and John Momola with all the highlights and the interviews from iHeartMedia. Jeff Ryan's our director of broadcasting. I am merely TJ Rives. Hang in there. Keep the faith, Buccaneer fans. And again, I was harsh on the Yahoos earlier in the podcast, but I mean it. If you don't want this team winning games, you're not needed. Go away. Opportunity to make the playoffs. The Buccaneers have only been in the playoffs 4 straight years, one other time in franchise history. You can see it now. You can't grab it yet, but you can see it now, making the playoffs for a 4th straight year. You've got to win games. It starts with Sunday at Lambeau Field, and we look forward to seeing what's happening for that matchup and for the stretch run. It's going to be a lot of fun. Relevant football, you're playoff relevant. Let's see if they can go get this one with the Pack at Lambeau. Again, look forward to being with you on Sunday with Gene and Dave on the call. Ronnie and Pat, a great job with our pre- and post-game coverage on Buccaneers Radio and 98 Rock. No matter what happens, we're here the day after games to recap it with highlights and interviews. I'm TJ Rives, and you've been listening to Nothing But Bucs.